When is a podcast not a podcast? Well, for one, when it's a live podcasting event. Sure, the podcast is still important, but really, it's the event that people want to watch, not the sausage making. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. Live podcasting. It's a thing. In the last few weeks, I've seen 2 different live podcasting events. So that's the impetus for this little mini-series on things that your podcast can do that are not your podcast, which is a terrible title. The good news is I don't have to title my mini-series. Yay. So a live podcasting event. Now, the funny thing is I've done live podcasting events for the longest time. I mean, since 2005, I think, is when I was doing a live podcasting event. But my thoughts on live podcasting events have changed. They've gone up, they've gone down. But based on the 2 I've seen recently, I have a new formulation and I think a new approach. But it probably starts with what I see as a problem with live podcasting events. And as you might have noticed in the title of this particular episode, I think we can lay the blame squarely at Bob Ross's feet. Bob Ross, if you are unaware, is a guy who painted on television. It's Bob Ross. Check it out. Bob Ross and his soft, dulcet tones as he painted this masterpiece, nice picture, live in front of people. And when most podcasters go to do their podcasting live, they have Bob Ross in their head. Okay, maybe not literally, but Bob Ross would sit and do a painting in a session, and we would all watch on TV and go, wow, that's very cool. So podcasters say, I want to do a live event. Let's have people come watch us do that podcasting thing we do. And therein lies the problem. Because yes, there are some people who want to watch the sausage being made. But that's not most people. Most people want the final product. Or they want a section that comes out of that final product. Something new that spins off out of that final product. They're not interested in watching the sausage being made. Now, there are exceptions to this. Live television, for example. You want to go to New York City and watch The Daily Show being recorded? You can do that. You can get tickets to go watch that show. You and maybe 100 people can watch this show being made every night. You can go to watch Saturday Night Live and watch these shows being made. You can go to New York City as well and watch Good Morning America being filmed sometimes. There are certain times when you can watch the people do the thing that they do. But the difference is that thing that they do is designed to be consumed live anyhow. Most people that watch at home have the almost exact same experience as someone who's watching live. Okay, maybe they cut out the commercial breaks and a few things like that, but it's still largely the same thing. Contrast that with the idea of your favorite television show. Let's just use The Good Place, for example. Would you like to go watch The Good Place being filmed? I'm sure many people have raised their hands right now, but I promise you, you wouldn't. And they wouldn't let you either. Because it's not a contiguous event that's being shot. They don't start with scene 1 and move on through. It's an amalgamation. It's lots of takes and retakes and boring and weeks of work to get an hour-long program. Which leads me to the idea about podcasting. People who would like to go and attend a podcasting event don't want to watch a podcast episode being recorded. They want to watch an event. They want to watch an event. I went to a local event here in Phoenix. The podcast is called Real Love, Real Stories, I believe, by Kanu. She is a local Phoenician here, lives here in Phoenix now, and she does her podcast, which is about love stories, surprise. Went to a live event of hers. She didn't have a microphone. There wasn't a panel. She didn't play her intro music. She didn't say, welcome to the podcast. She didn't do any of that because, listen, I make podcasts for a living. I don't want to watch people record a podcast. Instead, she put on an event. She had 5 different couples come up and tell their coached, to make it good, stories of love. That's it. And she talked in between them. And it was a great storytelling event that we got to go see. It was wonderful. I really did enjoy it. I just got back from being at Siglerfest. Scott Sigler, longtime, friend of mine and also longtime podcaster, does an event in Las Vegas every year where people come out and watch Scott Sigler podcast. No, they don't watch him podcast. Does he record a podcast there? Yes. Actually, probably get 2 episodes out of that. But it's the event. It's the event that they are there for. It's all of the things that they can't get out of a podcast. That's what they're going to get. Later on this month, we're going to watch another live podcast event right here in Phoenix. And I haven't seen it yet, clearly, because I haven't seen it yet. But I'm hopeful they do the exact same thing. They put on an event, not just a live recording of people talking into a microphone. The Illusionist is coming to town. We're going to go watch that event. Maybe next month, I'm going to go to LA and watch another event that's being put on. These are all podcast-based events, but again, I implore you to understand, these events I'm going to is not just a live taping of a podcast, because that's boring. That's really boring. Instead, they're events. All of these people I'm going to watch have taken their podcast and said, how can we capitalize on what we've built here to put on an amazing event that is kind of our podcast, but certainly not the recording of our podcast, because that's boring. What can we do for an event that is interesting and exciting and get people thrilled to come and watch? To give them that. Also, I had no idea that events like this existed. That's your idea. If you want to make a live podcast event, great, go for it. But seriously, consider the event itself. If the only thing you're thinking is doing a live recording of your podcast, that's probably not enough. Now, maybe it is. Maybe you're one of the podcasters who just turns on the microphone and talks linearly and turns it off again. Great. I mean, I kind of do that here on this show. And while I'm assuming some of you would like to come over to my house and sit and watch, it's not all that exciting. I mean, really, it's not. This that I'm doing here on video, as I recorded this, is the closest thing I've got to a live podcast, but there's no point in doing that, because I get the same thing just listening as watching somebody do it live. Yeah, there are a handful of people who would like to get that, I understand. But you're not doing a live event for a handful of people. You want the live event to bring in new people to the podcast event. When we went to the Real Love, Real Stories event, there were plenty of people in the audience who don't listen to Canu's podcast. But they might start now because they enjoyed that event. It was just a fun, good storytelling event. Maybe that drives traffic over. So all of this week, I'll be talking about other places where your podcast, things you can do with your podcast that isn't your podcast, that's not just repurposing your content to actually bring in new people, as well as give a good experience to people who are current listeners who can enjoy that other thing. Today was live podcasting. More stuff coming up this week. So 3 things. I'd like to hear about what you've done for live podcasting that you've either seen or you've been involved with. So go to flick.group/podcast pontifications and tell me there, or just tell me right here in the comments. That's cool. We can have the conversation wherever you like. If you wish to keep the show going, because you notice we don't run ads in this program, go to buymeacoffee.com/evoterra. Sign up. Like $4. You can buy me a coffee, and you can do that every month. It helps keep the show going. And if you are in business and you need people on your side who can help you think through your strategic podcasting challenges, that's what my firm does at Simpler Media. Please get in touch. evo@podcastlaunch.pro, or go to podcastlaunch.pro to see a list of services we offer clients all around the world. I shall be back tomorrow with yet another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers.